So tonight we're going to talk to Donte. We're going to talk to him about his works, his products, but then we're also going to talk to him about his story and why it's important that he gets his voice out there to the mainstream. So without further ado, let's welcome one of the newest members of the Digital Arts Portfolio 2.0 program, Mr. Donte Cotton. Good evening, Donte. How are you, sir?
All right, Faraji. How you doing, man?
I'm good. Oh, man. I'm loving the whole setup here.
Yeah, appreciate it.
I'm loving the whole setup. All right, first and foremost, when people go to your IG page, they see a lot of different things. You got pictures, but then you got designs of shoes.
Right.
This is an area that is very fascinating to me because I've never met someone who actually who put together legitimate designs for shoes. So first, talk to us a little bit about the work you do as a designer.
So as far as what I've done in the design space, I started with the concept of creating a streetwear brand, which is some of the pieces that you see in front of us right now. And as far as becoming skilled in it, I thought the best opportunity for that would be to do is get formal training. So I decided to go to Morgan State to get that formal training.
Big
as
Morgan.
far as,
Right, Morgan.
Shout out to Bears. As far as, getting that formal training, it actually helped me as an artist overall. So I got my degree in fine art with emphasis in graphic design for the intention of being able to create my designs that I was doing. But in that process, I also fell back in love with the process of creating art in general. So I had to do photography, I had to, do drawing, painting, all those different skills. And it kind of helped me as far as just being a creative overall. So
Yeah. So you are part of a world sneaker competition.
Right.
First, tell us a little bit about this competition, because you say you came in, if I'm not mistaken, about the 32nd place.
Top 64. So,
top 64.
Yeah.
Okay.
So Pencil, which is one of the places where it really got me into the footwear industry and really teaching me about the industry. And my mentor, Dwayne Edwards, he was the one that founded the school. So he's a part of the whole, conglomerate, which is Pencil. And last year they partnered with Puma on their World Sneaker Championship. I believe it was the fourth or fifth one that they did. And for this one, this was the first one that they included, apparel design, color material design, as well as footwear design. So I'm not that experienced in the footwear design part as far as creating original designs, but my strength was in color materials.
Yeah.
And also had experience doing apparel with my brand. So I felt like it was a perfect opportunity for me to enter that space. And each category, you got one placement for each category if you came in the top 64, and I was able to make the color material part. So
I'm gonna do this from a socially. That's dope right there. That's dope. When we think about shoes and that level, first, a couple of things. What is generally the process that you go and take when you're talking about creating a design, especially on the shoe side? I mean, you got shirts, you got hats,
right.
But when you get in that shoe, and I looked at it, and I really looked at it, brother. I was just studying, like, he got the whole shoe. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Colors, in terms of the sole. What's the process for that?
Honestly, for me, it's storytelling. That's the biggest driving force as far
Wait a
as...
minute, hold on. You said the design of a shoe is storytelling.
Yes.
So every sole has a soul.
There you go.
There we go. All right, go ahead. Let me stop being cheesy. Go ahead.
So yeah, for me, like I said, storytelling is the driving force as far as what I do. So if you go on my Instagram page, you'll not only see the post of a shoe that I designed, but if you scroll through, you also see what is called a mood board. So what inspired the shoe, whether it's space or if you see some of the safari stuff that I did, different wildlife places. So like the Serengeti, you'll find inspiration in there, and that's where you can pull your colors from and your materials and really think about how you want the shoe to feel. So somebody can look at the shoe and be like, oh, that's a dope shoe. But once you start having a conversation about it and what it means, it'll bring even more value to it.
And for a lot of artists, when we talk to artists, they say they kind of had to zone out from their current reality to get into the reality to create. Do you have to go through that same process as well?
It depends on what project I'm working on. So one of the posters behind me, I interned at New Balance last year, and during that process, we had to create some basically prototypes and concepts for some of the signature athletes that they had. The athlete that I was assigned to was Danielle Collins. She was, upcoming tennis player at the time. Right before we got there, she ranked top 4 in, I want to say, the Australian Open. And I'm a tennis fan, but I didn't know much about her because, like I said, she was new, and understanding her background when she grew up and trying to dive into that, so find out what inspires her, not so much about me. I'm creating for somebody else at that point.
Right. So did you get an opportunity to talk to her, and as part of the team?
Didn't get a chance to talk to her, but was in close connection to people that were in positions at New Balance that had contact with her, so was able to get some information directly from her as far as what inspires her. We kind of built our campaign around that.
So talk to us about, as being a young Black man, you're in those spaces. I mean, what is the representation like for a Black man of Latino brothers and sisters? What is the representation, especially considering, and now I might be really way off on this, but a lot of brothers spend a lot of time. We put a lot of money, time, effort to get that perfect shoe. Yeah. So what is the representation like?
So as far as African Americans, you're looking at 3% of the entire industry.
Wow.
Yeah, and if you think about it, how many of us are buying the products, marketing the products, and pretty much selling those shoes? And that's kind of where I have driven my inspiration and decided to make an intention to work in the footwear space, because I want to expand that number. I want to expose people to the opportunity to design, know that people are in that space and able to create. And it is, a viable career.
Why do you think it's only 3%?
I think one, as far as me personally trying to get into these spaces, I didn't have the background that my counterparts do. So I didn't go to, a large TV school where there's a lot of monies. Internships, those are big factors into, getting positions at, either the company that you intern at or, going to another place. When I was in school, I had a part-time job and I was trying to, run my brand at the same time. I have a little brother, so made sure he was doing good while he was in school. So I had a lot of responsibilities, so I didn't have the time to do the internship like everybody else. So had to figure out how to get into that space.
Do you think the big companies, New Balance, Nike, Under Armour, Puma, do you think they're making an effort to bring more diversity into those spaces?
That's actually a good question. So as far as what happened this entire year, a lot of people have put attention on these brands. So even people within inside the brand, at one point there was, Instagram pages like Black at Nike having conversations about what goes on in that space and what those experiences are for people of color at those companies, and how can we change those spaces and what can we do to increase the number of people there and open the conversation, make people feel more comfortable in those spaces, especially being a minority.
Yeah. That's serious. Folks, we've been talking to Mr. Donte Cotton. He is a designer, one of the new emerging artists here at the Motor House for our digital artist portfolio program 2.0. This is our second class, and we're happy to have Donte with us. Donte, all right, so we've been looking at some of your work here. Talk to us a little bit about what we're seeing.
Yeah, so I got a few pieces as far as, what I've done over the course of the brand. The 2 pieces that are on the mannequins here, that was part of my first collection. So that was heavily inspired by hip hop.
It was all a dream.
Yeah,
big and small.
You already know.
Right. I used to love him.
Yeah. So flip Common's
joint.
Even kind of made the graphic to look like his artwork for the single. And I based everything around that. So I even had another one that was inspired by Slick Rick lyrics, and just really trying to drive that story around that, because that was the heavy influence for me at the time, and especially in the streetwear culture. And I also played on Jordan, so it was around the Olympics when I originally designed that, so put that together and kind of played it in, because every time the Olympics come around, you'll see the Jordan 7 Olympic shoe come out, so it was a perfect piece to go with what you were wearing.
Right. And now, Debonair, what's tell us the inspiration behind that?
So honestly, how I created my brand name, I started reading the dictionary. Not even gonna lie to you. So I wanted to find words that meant something and gave value to what I was creating and what I was going to do with my brand. So debonair is, elevated. It has some upstanding qualities to it. You'll see a lot of people use the word debonair to refer to a gentleman. So I wanted to do that with my brand. So it was trying to pull streetwear, but also put in some higher quality elements. So as you can see, like the sweatshirts that we got in front of us, I started putting patterns and different materials on it, especially around the time. So around the time that I made these, a lot of people were doing like, jerseys and printing them on t-shirts and things like that. But if you feel that, I took materials that you see on an actual jersey. So like the letters that you see here kind of has like that stitching feel to it. Put some patterns on it to kind of elevate it instead of just a regular number. And that's what I kind of decided to push on my brand and start including patterns and things like that.
It has. I have to say this part of your product line has a HBCU type of feel to it.
For sure.
You know what I mean? I'm looking at the hat right here, which is fresh.
Word.
Then I'm like, oh, okay, that's the. I could remember the show Martin using the same type of fonts and whatnot, but it was a very pro-black, type of messaging behind that. Sure. Do you always keep that in mind? You said you went to Morgan State University, so does that kind of always is a part of your expression?
For me, I am Black, so that's always going to be a part of the conversation. As far as what I do, it's coming from where I come from. It comes from my heart. So that's where the designs are going to come from. What I'm inspired by, what I see around me. Those are the conversations that I'm going to have with the pieces that I create. So one of the pieces behind me, one of the shirts that I made is ride over souls, not souls. So again, that play on that
play
soul,
on that
soul
word, right.
And I designed that when I was still at Morgan, but I didn't put it out until a few years later. And that's where the photo behind this was maybe 6 months after the Freddie Gray situation. And the photo was right on North Avenue. So just putting those type of things into the storytelling of what I'm doing and speaking to people even through clothes.
So talk to us. I mean, what made you decide to want to be a part of the work that we're doing here at the Motor House? What was the inspiration for that decision?
Honestly, just to continue to build within the community. So like I said, trying to expose people to the idea of, not just being an athlete or what you see on TV, but the roles that are behind the camera, behind the scenes. Yeah. Who designs the shoe that LeBron wears? Who designs the shoes that Carmelo wears? How do they get on his foot? A lot of people don't know that there was a Black designer behind the first few shoes that Melo had, Dwayne Edwards, who is my mentor and founder of Pencil. So, just having those conversations with people and just exposing them to something new.
Speaking of which, brother, we're going to take a quick pause. When we come back, folks, we're going to continue our conversation with Mr. Donte Cotton to continue to talk about his story and to get more details about the work that he's doing. But again, folks, you're watching us. This is the Digital Artist Portfolio Program 2.0, where we're having conversations with emerging artists from Baltimore. Stay with us. We'll be right back. All right, folks, welcome back to our one-on-one conversation with Mr. Donte Cotton of our Digital Artist Portfolio Program 2.0 here at the Motor House. I'm your host, Faraji Muhammad. I appreciate y'all so much for checking in. Look, we've been talking to Donte about his fantastic line and the work that he's doing, and the fact that he's starting to take all that who he is and putting it out there in the design of his clothes and the design of footwear. But we want to get more into understanding the other side of Donte, the story of Donte. Here's a young man that is that's been doing some powerful work in the area of art and making sure that he is shifting the culture dramatically. So we appreciate him for being a part of the program here at the Motor House. Donte, again, we thank you so much, brother.
Appreciate it, brother.
First and foremost, there were a couple of things I noticed because one, you had the same Kofa bird in the last segment.
Okay.
On your shirt, so that rung a bell for me. I'm very familiar with the same Kofa bird, but then sure. I've also seen Japanese solidarity with Black Lives Matter.
Yeah, man. Like I said, continuing to have that conversation and taking the opportunity to do it. So everything that I'm wearing either speaks to Black people or is made by Black people. So the sweatshirt that I had on before, Pierre Moss, you already know it was Sankofa on there. So that was part of his Reebok collection. Black Lives Matter shirt, sweatpants, they're Fear God Essentials, Jerry Lorenzo, another Black designer.
Yeah.
And then obviously got the AIs on my feet, one of the best to ever do it.
Right. Big shout out. Look at this. I'm rocking an Invest in Baltimore right here, folks. This is how I'm feeling tonight, that we need to invest in Baltimore. Donte, I'm wondering that, as you kind of seeing what's happening in Baltimore, as you seeing what's happening across this country, we came through a very, I would say a very interesting election. I think that a lot of people are still trying to recover from. How do you take the work and the art that you have in your footwear, in your clothes? How do you make it relevant and connect? Because so many of us, I think, are at this moment of trying to figure out, should we keep on investing in certain places? Some people, it's just clothes rather than being a statement.
Yeah.
What do you say to those who may feel that they are kind of at a crossroads right now?
Honestly, if you're on the designing side, I know it's hard right now, but you got to keep creating. You got to keep finding inspiration, keep having conversations, find what you're feeling, and basically push it outward. So, like I said, either through clothing, through painting, through music, whatever you do as far as a creative, push those messages, because there's someone out there that's going to relate. Somebody is going through those same feelings that you're having, and it's going to help them. So that's what, I think is big for me, and, big for the people that I know as creatives and what they do through their art.
And I think that's one of the big things that some people would even say, and I've talked to some other artists, and they say that, for some, this is a hard time to create. And then for others, this is the perfect time. This is like the perfect storm for creation. What is this for you?
It's a moment of calmness. So I get to sit down, I get to plan, I get to figure out what my next step is, because I think everybody's at a crossroad right now. They got to figure out how they're going to come out this pandemic, what they're going to do. They got time to evaluate if they're really happy with their life. A lot of people have been in isolation from other people, whether, for medical reasons or, just for, personal health. Just putting those things together and figure out how you can come out on the other side better. And, that's what I've been doing for myself, and figuring out how to continue to push the messages that I want to put, and what's that next step as far as helping my people.
What role do you see creatives and artists playing right now? Especially doing the work that you're doing. You're doing graphic design, and I see a lot of messaging come on shirts. But, I always wonder, there's got to be a way that we can elevate, those messages. When you're talking about riot for souls, not souls, and people see the shirt souls being SOULS, then SOLES.
Yeah.
I'm looking at that and I'm like, damn, that's a powerful message. There's got to be a way that we can make sure that artists and designers like yourself can be uplifted. Yeah. Because I feel like there is a cultural war that's happening, and I feel like some of the negative messaging is winning out in some cases.
We gotta communicate. We gotta, stay together. We gotta make sure we're reaching out, checking in on each other. Because, like I said, this is a tough period for everybody. So just checking in on somebody, saying, "Hey, you doing good? How you feeling?" I do that, with my friend that I do, my podcast with, Ronald James. So, we talk every day. Sometimes it's not even, what's going on in the world. Like, what's going on with you personally? How you feeling? How's your family doing? Those conversations, and not just about creating all the time, because you need to take a break. You need to recharge yourself, especially right now. There's a lot going on in the world. There's a lot of different, pressures, outward, pushing in on people. So you got to find those outlets, those resources, and, use those to your advantage.
Absolutely. And you were speaking about your mentor, Dwayne Edwards. There are ways that people can get connected to people, but again, there seems to be some roadblocks on building those relationships to even get a mentor. How did that happen for you?
Honestly, it was me going to Pencil. So as far as what they do there, most of their programs are actually free. You just have to apply and show that you can design. So whether it's footwear design, is submit original shoe design.
Yeah.
Color and material, you got to submit a mood board. Apparel design, you got to create a either apparel or accessory piece and submit it. If you're one of the stronger candidates, they'll bring you in. So like the New Balance opportunity, cost were covered. I just had to get myself there. So transported me to and from work. We had a meal while I was at work. Stay was covered. Those type of things and those type of opportunities are what we need to look for. Adidas has one now. It's called Seed. It's for women of color. So if they're trying to get in the industry, it's definitely different places out there. Honestly, use Instagram. Find out who's in the community, who's making noise. A friend of mine, Jezreel Allen Lord, she's a big influencer in the sneaker community. She's, I would call her an activist. She's a person that is a designer. She had her own shoe collaboration with Reebok. She's a resource that people can, reach out to. She's genuine. We'll have a conversation with you. Even at Pencil, you go to their website, Suzette Henry, who's kind of my mentor as far as the color and materials decide. If you just email those people, Angela McGinnon, she's also another person of, that's at Pencil. She does, Phase, which is the apparel side of it. Just reach out to people. LinkedIn is another place that you can, find people in the community and have conversations with.
Yeah.
So, it's different places. And, even reaching out to me if you want to get in touch with me or looking for a certain field, I can definitely point you in the right direction if I don't have the answer. So
absolutely. And tell us about, how do you stay motivated? Because being a creative, being an artist, it requires a lot. It requires a lot of discipline. It requires, a lot of attention. It requires a lot of time. But how do you stay motivated? How do you get the inspiration, even when somebody might say, "Oh, that's all well and good, bro. You can design some stuff, but you need a real job," quote unquote, right?
Yeah. So
have you heard that? In
For sure, and I've had questions on why I'm choosing this side of design versus going into graphic design specifically, or working for a large company.
Why can't you just design some party flyers?
Exactly. And like I said, finding like people in your space. So when I went to Morgan, being in the art department, I felt at home because all my friends, they were in the art. We had the same interests outside of what's directly related to art. Same thing when I went to Pencil. Everybody loved shoes. Everybody had conversations about it. Everybody had the alerts on their phone and new shoes came out. So finding those communities, that's what keeps me motivated. My family is a good source of inspiration and continue to build myself up. And for me, I draw inspiration from film, believe it or not. I watch a lot of movies. I actually run a movie club now, DCO Movie Club. And, just finding different films that either relate to what I'm feeling at the moment, what's going on in the world, or something just to get a good laugh. And you need that sometimes too. Yeah,
definitely. Yeah. And I was going to ask you about your family. How does your family look at the path that you're taking right now?
My mother is like my number one supporter. She's always, down for whatever I'm doing. I can be like, I got to move to Germany next month. She'd be like, do it. I'm coming to visit. It was hard for people to see what I was doing when I first started, but now that I've done these things along the way and I'm intentional with what I'm doing, they're behind me 100% and, willing to support.
Yeah. You just don't every day you come back, hey, what you do? You know what I'm saying? I designed those.
Right. That's always a hard conversation to have when someone asks, what do you do? Either I say I'm a creative or I'm a designer. As far as explaining how I design shoes or create shirts, that's not something most people know. Like you said before, you don't know anybody that actually designs shoes.
Right.
So how do you do that? What do you mean you design shoes? How do you create it? So basically picking the right time to have those conversations and, having people understand what I do. Because it's a lot that I do, honestly. And, it's just because I'm a creative and I got to get that energy out.
All right, so I need some insider secret.
What's up?
You ready for it?
What you got?
It says, big question. Are shoes worth the cost that they're actually being sold for? Y'all feel me? Like, are they really worth $300-400?
Honestly, it's not a black and white answer for it. So
come on,
things that you see on Instagram when they show Jordans are only worth $34, and they're selling them for $200. Yes and no. So it's a lot of things that go into it. People don't know it costs you like $1,000 just to create a mold for the shoe that you're building on.
Wait a minute, say it again.
It's $1,000 just to get it an original mold.
A mold.
Yeah.
What is the mold? Is that a rendering of what?
Either your outsole, you also have your last that you have to create. If you create an original last, that's going to bring you a lot of money as well.
Wow.
Jordan and Nike, they have a catalog that they have these designs already created. So yes, they can pull from that, but they kick that money out as well. You got to buy your materials in bulk. You just can't go to the store and be like, yeah, I want 12 inches of this particular, suede from, Wolverine.
Right.
To put on my shoe. You gotta, meet those minimum requirements that companies have. And once you start meeting those minimum requirements, then that's when the cost per item comes down, but you're still spending a lot of money up front.
Wow. Because I remember, if I'm not mistaken, Stephon Marbury, he was talking about he made shoes in the same factory as Jordan.
Yeah.
And that, he sold his shoes for like $30-something. And,
yeah.
And I'm like, that's crazy. I mean, to me, I'm like, oh, that's dope.
Right.
But then I'm like, wait a minute, how is that possible?
Yeah. So pick up that shoe and pick up your favorite Jordan and hold it side by side. The materials are not the same. Yes, you can create them in the same factory. I can, work with, let's say, whatever company makes American Apparel, just, a brand off the top of my head.
Right.
I can go there and ask them for a particular product, but if I don't know what I'm asking for, what I want for it, if I'm not using the same budget that they have, I'm not going to get the same piece out of that exact same factory.
That's true. So it's a lot more than what we're seeing.
Right.
A lot more. Folks, I want to give an opportunity. Can we take a couple of questions? Let's take some questions. If you got some questions for Donte Cotton, make sure you post your questions right now on our live. And you can ask your questions about shoe design, graphic design. Donte is an emerging artist here in Baltimore. He's part of our digital artist portfolio program that we have here at Motor House. And he's just one of the new class that we have here at the Motor House. And we're very, very excited because we're going to do all that we can to continue to keep Donte on the right path to make sure that his representation of Baltimore is represented at the table when he goes into some of these major footwear companies. So if you got questions for Donte, make sure you post them right now. We'll take your questions, take your comments, take your thoughts. If you just want to throw up some hearts, you want to throw up some fire symbols, you know what I'm saying? Just want to show your love and appreciation that you have a young black man that's doing it real big in the footwear community, then you can definitely do that. So if you have any questions, let us know right now. But Donte, while we wait for some questions to come in, talk to us a little bit about, now that you're in this space and your path in your career, what are some of the things that you're looking to accomplish now?
One of the biggest marker, and a lot of people are asking, is when I'm going to put out a shoe. So, is that a dream of yours? Yeah, honestly, not even gonna lie to you.
Okay.
That's why I've done the competitions that I've done, put myself in the spaces that I have to put something out in the space that people love.
That's what, and if you had an opportunity to put out a shoe of your own, because they got a lot of different, first thing, the names of the shoes right now are just bananas. I just can't even. I see you got some up there, and I'm like, that's German to me, right? What would you name your shoe?
Honestly, it's one of those things that I don't have off the top of my head. I'll let it come in the moment. Like I said, I draw inspiration of whatever I'm creating. It'll come to me.
Like a true artist. All right, do we have any questions yet? Folks, again, we want to let you know, this is Donte Cotton. He's a part of our digital artist portfolio program here at the Motor House. This is our second class. And we want you to know that we're going to be doing our part to support him. Yes, he is a man that's designing shoes clothing and all types of apparel. And he's right here in Baltimore, because you actually came from you were born in Long Island,
Mm-hmm.
but you planted your roots in Baltimore.
Yep, been here, most of my life. I spent a couple years in Minnesota when I was in college for my first couple of years before I went to Morgan. But, Baltimore's been my home.
Yeah. What part of Baltimore? Because, that makes all the difference.
It does for most people. So I'm actually from the county.
You from?
We'll leave it at that. Man.
All right, let's take our question. Camille.
What is your dream collaboration?
Okay.
What is your dream collaboration? That's a great question.
Yeah, so that is a good question. I'd say really specific, doing something with Carmelo Anthony.
Really?
Yeah.
Another Baltimore native.
Yep. So, continuing to, build that legacy for Baltimore and, doing something for the city. And random fact, I actually used to play for his AAU team when I was playing basketball. Carmelo's Choice at the time. It went through, a few different names, and, Team Mello at one point changed the name, but, was able to, have that name on my jersey. So
You haven't crossed paths?
yeah, so he used to do the Hood Movement 3-on-3 tournament.
Mm-hmm.
He was there, ran into him, Rudy Gay, a couple other, Baltimore legends as far as the basketball game goes. And, if I can work with them, that would be something that would be amazing.
Dream collaboration, Carmelo Anthony.
Yes, sir.
That's what's up right there. That's what's up. Folks, keep posting your questions as we talk to Donte Cotton. Donte, when you were talking about making sure that, you're thinking about taking your, designing your own, creating your own shoe.
Mm-hmm.
What do you say to upcoming artists and creators, and especially graphic designers? What kind of recommendation? What would be your encouraging words for them?
Continue to work hard. One of my professors at Morgan, Professor Jones, he's retired now, but his catchphrase was, be scared but do it anyway. So
wait a minute, hold on. Hold on. That sounds like an Ivan Martin. That's like an Ivan Martin quote. Be scared,
mm-hmm.
but do it anyway.
Yes, sir.
I like that.
Yeah, so he used to say it when we were hesitant about painting.
Yeah.
So we didn't want to mess up what we created. Be scared and do it anyway. If you mess up, you can fix it. When it comes to entering design competitions, do it anyway. The worst that somebody can tell you is no about your artwork. Once I figured that out, the doors opened up for me. I wasn't afraid to do anything at that point. So once I got that in my mind and got that in my spirit, I became like a superstar.
Let me ask you, how many no's have you been told? Or did you lose count?
I don't even count anymore. It's not even about the no's, it's about the yeses that I am going to get.
Right.
And
because a lot of people, I think culturally, we're all in this space where, especially on social media,
mm-hmm.
and I think it might be even a generational thing. We see a lot of folks that believe that they should automatically jump into fields, right, without being told no, without going through the struggle, without starting from the bottom and being there for like 10 years.
Right.
So talk to us a little bit about that journey, because I think people should be realistic about where they want to go and how long it's going to take to get there.
So as far as that, I think a good example that's not even mine, but from my branded podcast, I had D. Watkins on. He said after he wrote his first book, he submitted it to 100 publishing places. Maybe 10 of them got back to him, and he ended up only working with one. So think about
this
that.
This is the same D. Watkins. This is my guy too. D. Watkins is my guy. You said 100.
Mm-hmm.
All right, let's do the math here real quick. 100. 10 got back to him.
Mm-hmm.
One published the book.
Yep.
Next question, Camille.
What's your biggest obstacle?
Like I said, in the footwear space, it's only 3% of us that are represented. So, going to those places where I'm talking to somebody that doesn't look like me, may not understand where I've come from, what I do, what my inspirations are. That's part of the hurdle. Keeping myself motivated when I get those no's, that takes some time, especially those first few no's that I got. It was hard. I took it personal. I was super upset. I had to have conversations with people, and I thought it was me, but it's not. Either it's not your time or it's not the right place. But when your time comes, you'll it'll be perfect for you.
Absolutely, absolutely. Well, you know what, Donte, we appreciate you, brother. We appreciate you. We're so happy that we were able to have at least to kick off our second class of our digital artist portfolio program with you and this exhibition. Can you let everybody know how people can get in touch with you and how they can be supportive of the work you're doing?
Yeah, so easiest way to get in touch with me probably is Instagram if you want to message me. Motor House's page, they have me, tagged on there. So if you want to check that out and follow them, and you can follow me back. And like I said, any questions you have or any ideas you want to run by me, just, hit me up. I'll definitely get back to you.
That's what I'm talking about. Donte Cotton, one of our newest members of the new class of the Digital Artist Portfolio Program 2.0 here at the Motor House. And folks, trust me, remember his face, even with the mask on, remember his face, because this brother is going somewhere, and we are so happy that we can be a part of the journey. As we close out tonight, again, we want to remind you folks that we are looking for your support here at Motor House. You can give your tax-deductible donation safely and securely right on our website at motorhousebaltimore.com. You can go there right now, just click on the buttons and donate. motorhousebaltimore.com. We really need your support, and we want to continue to be that space for emerging artists here in Baltimore. So motorhousebaltimore.com. Folks,